wave going. And I'm going to just remark on some areas. Clearly, one of the things that Sears did was to, in social psychology, I mean, he recruited Festinger and Alex Bavelis. I don't know, not many people remember Alex anymore, do they? He was a magical man, don't you think, Gordon? He was kind of crazy, but he was really smart. By the way, I came here in 1961, and Gordon was a brand new assistant professor. How long have you been here? A year. Oh, you weren't brand new then. You were. And Gordon really began a wonderful burgeoning of the cognitive area, which we called experimental then. Bauer was the precursor to Bill Estes coming, then Dick Atkinson, Roger Shepard. They were really extraordinarily distinguished bunch of guys who then laid the groundwork for one of the most interesting ones of all, and that was Amos Tversky. I think this department has a extraordinary history in that area of intellectual activity, which Gordon Bauer gets a lot of credit for. Sears himself, as a developmental psychologist, went back to Harvard and recruited Eleanor Maccabee, who had worked with him there, and she came back to work with him here. They eventually were joined by John Flavel, and now a number of developmental people in that field has burgeoned. The mystery area for the department is why, with all of its strength in experimental things, there's a wonderful little volume or article by Lee Cronbach called The Two Disciplines of Scientific Psychology. And one of them is experimental, and the other he meant was measurement, and with Terman being one of the leaders in that. Given this department's strength in those two areas, why the department didn't do anything special in physiological, biological psychology is always kind of a bit of a mystery. You got an explanation of that, Gordon? Mine is Carl Pribram. It's interesting. When a field is new and you're developing it, one mistake can be really, really bad because you don't have a whole background of things to depend on. So the first recruits, I mean, if Sears had recruited a group of people less able than Leon and Alex, it wouldn't have looked so good to Zions, Steele, Zimbardo, etc. So I think in the early days, that's a crucial thing. I would like there to be some questions. I mean, maybe I've just rambled too much about individuals. I haven't even mentioned Al Bandura's name, have I? Well, look at the pictures. They're all worthwhile people. Phil?
Talk about Al Bandura.
Al Bandura. Well, yeah, I'm going to say a word about Al Bandura. who was probably had been here a year before you came, Gordon, a couple of years. He is really from the plains of what, British Columbia, Alberta, and agrarian, but a wonderfully organized researcher with a wonderful commitment to what he's doing. Al Bandura is the person that created, I'm going to say literally created, the field of what we'll call behavior therapy. I mean, there have been all sorts of other people who have done things, have gotten publicity for it, but Al has been at it steadily for many, many years. I don't know if anybody would have convinced Al to come talk about his history. Has he done an autobiography? I don't think so. He should. He, by the way, when he and Walter Mischel got along fine, I was a little worried about that. Of course, Walter has a certain almost Viennese-like quality to him, but they got along fine. Sir.
Okay, I'm Terry Terman, the grandson of Lewis M. Terman, and I wonder if you could say some more words about the Stanford Binet IQ test that he developed.
Does that mean you're Fred's son?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a name to be paid attention to around here too. Well, I think Terman worked with great dedication to the notion that intelligence was something that was measurable and that it could be measured reliably, and that if you were careful, you could show, as he felt he had, that it was constant. And that is that high IQ people at age 15 were the high IQ people at age 40. Terman's commitment to the notion that this was a measurable thing was really very important, because aside it being something significant anyway, it led to a lot of educational research. Now, the place that I think most people would gracefully add to what Lewis Terman had to say is that he probably neglected a lot of environmental influences that were there, and that he was not unaware of them but didn't give them a lot of weight. He wanted to look at constancies, and other people wanted to look at how environment can change it. And I have a feeling that the environmentalists have won out a little, for good reason. But Terman still stands as an important figure. Yes.
I'm just sort of wondering about the sort of physical location. You said the psychology department started in the upper floor of what's now the math corner. When did it move across to Margaret Jack's?
Well, it moved from math corner, physics corner as it was called, to when I came here, I guess when Gordon came here too, They were located in the School of Education building on the first and third floor, and if you will, in the basement. Wasn't your office in the basement, Gordon? Mine was.
After I'd been for a year next to the men's toilet. And I had too many men running into my office doing that.
Leon Festinger's office was adjoining the women's John that would get stopped up and overflow. And Leon wore sharp leather on his heels, so when he walked down a cement hallway, you heard click, 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 and you could even tell when the toilets had overflown because it was a loud, loud walk. Anyway, the department was there for quite a while, and then what happened, which was really quite interesting, was there was just tremendous demand for space that didn't exist in the education building, and we ended up moving to faculty residences that the university had taken over along on Alvarado Row and such, and Alex and I had a building for a lab. Hilgard, when he was doing hypnosis work, had a building. Where were you guys? Yeah. Yeah.
Could you tell us about the Stanford prison experiment?
I'm not going to say a word about it when he's sitting right in front of you. We just got him out of jail to come here. I have a feeling that Phil will sometime maybe talk more about it. What about Doug Lawrence? Interesting that I didn't mention Doug. Doug Lawrence was an experimental psychologist trained at Yale. He was from the state of Washington. He's kind of a country boy is the way I'd put it. And did some extraordinarily interesting experiments, I thought, early in his career, and something happened that he just ran out. Do you ever had an idea about that, Gordon?
Well, he linked up with Leon.
Leon, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Doug was very involved in planning the new psychology department that went over in the old biology building. And he taught classes in perception, and he kept on doing a lot of research with Leon on applying dissonance theory to certain phenomena.
Deterrence, and whatever it was called.
Could I ask you a question? Could you talk a little bit about what happened to the clinical program at our department? Why aren't we a clinical psychology department?
Well, we are more now than we used to be, aren't we? Don't we have somebody who does that? Oh, yeah. No, they have a very snazzy name. What is the name they use? No, they don't say that. What? Yeah, affective science. That's, if you get the right name.
Al, I have I'm sorry. I have a question.
Yeah, but I got to answer about the clinical.
Sure. Okay. Please. My question was relationship to other departments. There was a lot of psychologists. I was in the medical school, as you know, and they had lots of psychologists coming into the department. I came in '63, and so I wondered if you'd and you didn't mention Pat Sears, who was my wife's thesis advisor at Harvard, and she was in the School of Education here, I believe.
Yes.
And what was the relationship of psychology to other departments at other schools?
Let me answer the clinical question first. Well, government money enters the picture here. And I think Jack Hilgard was especially interested in doing it. But the government put out money to psychology departments around the country if they would begin